in store for us, if not for what they are currently fighting for, certainly the history and all of that surrounding this game. But Sam, from a Ten Hag point of view, he talked about the anger from last night. There was a lot of frustration for Manchester United, 3-2 up with 90 odd minutes on the clock, and they capitulated.
Yeah, in terms of taking those emotions into the game, that's probably one thing that United can do. It does work the other way as well. I think sometimes if they get a big win, let's say they had turned it around last night and won 4-3, I think sometimes they could be a bit complacent going into the next game.
Ten Hag was trying to set the team up, and it kicked off really early, and it was in the middle of the park. I felt like that's where the biggest problem was for them, because the energy of Gallagher starts stretching them, and that is the thing that he doesn't want away from home. You want to keep it compact. And then you had Mino and Fernand. When they spread, you open it up. And then Casemiro was sitting in the middle and kind of holding him back, but it wasn't working. And then he started screaming at them. And I saw him with his head movement, like tight, tight, tight. And when that happened, I knew they're in trouble. Okay, they got back because they got the opportunity from Casado. And you could see that they started to grow. And they were always set up, Man United, to play the counterattack. They are set up like that. That is their team strategy. We play on the counterattack, we sit. And now they had a team that were doing identical to them. Chelsea does it, they do it. And then, they come back into the game, and I still think you cannot give a game away that of that level, regarding if you're not doing well in the season. How can you leave the top scorer of that team, Palmer, free outside, even if he was lucky because of that deflected? You cannot make that mistake. It doesn't matter what team you are. Like, even me, being on that team, I will go crazy against my players.
Yeah.
I might not, you might not know it, but I will point them out.
Yeah, you mentioned something that it was end to end. I felt like we were watching a tennis game at some point, especially in the second half there. What Manchester United do have is a recent FA Cup victory over Liverpool. How much confidence will that give them? And how difficult do you think it is to play each other in the space of a month? Is that game forgotten by now, or?
Yeah, to be honest, after last night, I don't think they could have much confidence regardless of the situation. That result against Liverpool was so good for United. It was probably one of the best results they've had in the last 10 years. But I don't know if you could have much confidence after last night. In terms of the two teams playing each other again so recently, it's normally the case that the game the second time around is a lot different. I remember a few years ago, City beat Chelsea, maybe 6-0, and then they played in the Carabao Cup final, and it was 0-0 and went to penalties, I think it was. And it's always the case when there's just something completely different in that game.
If you look at the two managers, the interviews, if you look really, really close up to them, you can see that there's one manager that knows what he wants to do and that he expects his team to do, and the other one is almost like, is my team going to bounce back? And that is where already the way that the game is going to start is exactly how it's going to be. One is going to push on because Liverpool wants to finish games off. They play Chelsea. Chelsea does not finish games off. Chelsea sits back. So now Man United has to come against Liverpool. They're going to be pushed back, and then I don't know. His reaction will be like, "Can we use the counter attack to our advantage?"
Oh, I've got goosebumps after watching that. What were you saying? It's beautiful.
This is like, so for people to understand is when you have a moment to go in a game like this. It's like there's so much at stake, but also the whole week, all the fans, anybody you meet on the street will remind you how important the weekend is going to be. And that is what football is all about. You want to play the game and you want to affect people's life by winning.
How do you react when people say that? You better win this weekend. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but you know what you do then? Sometimes you try to stay away. Like when the game is that big, I don't go around the street that much because I don't want people to chat to because I know what I need to do. So, but away from that, I say to you like, you might give them a smile, but the smile is different than a normal smile. The normal smile will be bright, like, yeah. But this won't be like, yeah, I get it. Because you just you know how important it is. You want to perform well because you know your coach might take you out of the game and you don't want that to happen. I want to play. You want to be the starting 11 that game for sure.
Yeah, all week the phones are off. He's not going to get milk or bread at the shop. None of it is staying in the house.
No.
This is such a big one, understanding the rivalry. And we were saying as well, for Manchester United, Liverpool chasing that title, obviously the emotion of Jurgen Klopp's last season, Manchester United would love nothing more than to be the ones that put a spanner in the works.
They would, but they do have to be careful with that because they don't want City to win it either. And then they probably don't want Arsenal either. But yeah, if it stops Liverpool, it's difficult for United though, isn't it? Like they've always had this thing over the years. Like it's either going to be Liverpool or City, which is the worst nightmare. I suppose now they could probably pray that it's going to be Arsenal. But yeah, they would love to stop Liverpool, but it's not like it's a great choice for them.
They managed that victory in the FA Cup, though. What can they take from that and repeat? And also, most importantly, how do they stop Mo Salah? Because he has an incredible record at Old Trafford. I think it's 3 in a row that he scored in.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously before you asked about the confidence, and genuinely, I do think after last night it is difficult. But in terms of what that result did for them, it does show them not just that, within this season they can get a result like that, but like I said, in terms of it being a good result for the last 10 years.
Jurgen Klopp, just whispering him, saying, hey, it hasn't come yet, but it's going to come. He's there. And now with Salah healthy and back, it just feels like every player on that team has been forced to perform because other people were hurt or missing or whatever. And now they're all confident that when their time comes, they can go 90 minutes in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, no, it's really true. And I think, when we look at, you mentioned there, Nunez, the goal he scored midweek against Sheffield United, where he just closed down a lost cause against the goalkeeper, cannons off him, goes. That just sums up how he and Diaz in particular just run themselves into the ground. Like Andy said, the entire squad just wants to give Klopp this title, and that's a very powerful thing for Liverpool to have right now. And, Salah, he came off midweek, was a bit upset with that, but more about his performance. He wasn't able to really get a look in, but he's just coming back from another injury. So you kind of expect a little bit of inconsistency, but I'm sure he was just rested a bit for this weekend, and he always loves a couple of goals against Man United, especially at Old Trafford. But when we look at the schedule for Liverpool, I mean, this game and probably the game against Tottenham are the 2 toughest games. I mean, Everton is always a weird one. They've still got to play Everton this season, but aside from those 3 games, they really should take care of business. And, you got Pep and Arteta both saying, oh, yeah, they're the favourites, they're ahead. They should do it now. Just almost tempting the Liverpool players to slip up. But I don't see that, Andy, from this team. And even though Alisson, Jota, Trent are still out injured, like Nick mentioned, every single person who's coming in is stepping up. And it really hasn't put a foot wrong. So it's almost written the stars a little bit at this point. Does it seem that for Liverpool?
Yeah, it does. There's an incredible focus, like from the squad, a group focus as well. And I think that's kind of what I was getting at a couple of minutes ago, is everybody pulling in the same direction, knowing what the objective is. You can pick any Manchester United performance and say, well, very up and down over the course of 90 minutes. Directionless, I think, is a good way to describe it. Liverpool, it just, you know exactly what you're going to get from them every time they take the field. You know it's going to be a very, very difficult game as the opponent, and they're probably going to come out on top in the end. And so it does have that feel of inevitability. They've got the lead. They've got the easiest fixture list between now and the end of the season. It is all lining up, and in a way, I'm kind of excited to see it, because when they won the title the last time, they had to celebrate inside of an empty Anfield, just the players up on the Kop end. It was weird. It was not enjoyable. It was not the explosion of celebration that it should have been after, nearly 30 years of winning the top flight title. Like, that was the moment that they should have had. They were robbed of it. And so now to have the opportunity again, Klopp's final season, the culmination of almost a decade. Joe, I remember one of the first things that happened when I was hired at PST was Klopp hired at Liverpool, you going up for the introductory press conference and being there, and it felt like it was going to be a massive time. And this has now become an entire era of the Premier League. Obviously, Pep comes in and they have their rivalry and everything. But this has been the Klopp era of the Premier League. And even though they've only won 1 title during that period, he has been kind of that big figure over the top of the league. And so it just feels like it would be the right way for this chapter to end before we move on to something else next season.
Yeah, and also I have to say their final away game is at Aston Villa as well. So that's not easy, but they do host Wolves on the final day of the season, Andy. So I think right now it's looking like we're going to get that dream farewell for Jurgen Klopp in front of the Kop, lifting the Premier League trophy. But there's still a lot to go on between now and then. And of course, this is a really tough game for Liverpool historically against their bitter rivals. We know form is a cliche, but it does really go out the window in a lot of these games. We saw it in the FA Cup game recently. So, Nick, prediction-wise, it's a tough one, isn't it? What are you going for?
Yeah. I just have this feeling it's going to be a chaos agent weekend. I think Liverpool will look a million times better, and I think we're going to get a draw here. So I'm going to go with 1-1.
Oh, Andy?
I think it'll be close to that. United are going to make it a really, really ugly, kind of choppy game.
That's right.
But in the end, Liverpool find one, and I think they win 1-0.
Oh, I'm going 2-1 to Liverpool. So again, I do think it's going to be tight. You know, we've seen the trips to Anfield earlier in the season. United went on and got that draw. So Liverpool are going to dominate, and I just think it's all about Man United. If they turn up, then they can cause them a lot of problems. But I just can't see Liverpool not winning this game the way that they are just so focused and locked in right now and have so many players stepping up. Somebody is going to step up and be the hero for them this weekend at Old Trafford. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest how to watch information, team news, predicted lineups, live analysis during the game. We'll have you covered. Always a huge one in world football. Manchester United against Liverpool with so much on the line for both of these teams. It's going to be a good one. Nick and Andy, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Cheers, guys.
Crystal Palace, lunchtime in the UK. They are at home to the champions Manchester City. A host of matches kicking off at 3 p.m., including Aston Villa's battle with Brentford, Everton's big battle at the bottom with Burnley, and Wolves' showdown with West Ham. Brighton versus Arsenal is the last match on Saturday. A hat-trick of games for you on Sunday, including that big one, Manchester United versus Liverpool. Sheffield United's battle with Chelsea is at 5:30, and then Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest has been moved from Monday and is now a 6 p.m. kickoff here in the UK. State of play in the Premier League is this. Liverpool top of the table, 2 points clear of Arsenal in second and a further point ahead of Manchester City in third. Aston Villa are in fourth. Tottenham have tried to overtake them. They haven't managed quite yet, still 2 points behind. Manchester United still 11 behind Villa in fourth place after that dramatic match last night, which we will get stuck into right away. That result for Chelsea means they are into the top half of the Premier League table. Let's look at the bottom half in the drop zone. Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United. Nottingham Forest got a massive victory in midweek. Everton got a crucial point as well, so they are a little bit more comfortable, still not completely comfortable though, and then Brentford in 15th position as well. Start talking about that blockbuster matchup at Old Trafford.